This example is using congruent triangles to prove a second pair of triangles congruent. So we're given a fairly complex diagram that you see here, and what you're going to notice is that there are three pairs of triangles that maybe we could prove congruent. So in this diagram, we're trying to prove the red one's congruent with some given information. The given information that we have, I actually wrote on the diagram over here in black. So what we might think initially is that we should try to prove these triangles congruent. Because we have two parts that we need, we could use this reflexive and we'd be done. Unfortunately, the problem is that the only thing that they have in common with the red ones are those segments right there. So if in the red triangles we have those segments, so we have a reflexive side, we just don't have enough to be able to prove the red triangle's congruent. So back to the drawing board. If you notice that over here I have drawn in blue here, I have drawn the triangles PQS and RQS, and those are actually the triangles that we want to prove congruent. So the stuff that was given in the problem over here, the segment PS is congruent to segment RS. That was those two segments, and then that the angles down here are congruent. We can then use the reflexive segment and we'll get that the blue triangles are congruent. So that's what I'm doing here, using the given, using the reflexive, that will prove those blue triangles congruent. Now the reason that's helpful is because, as you can see over here, when I put the triangles back on top of each other as they were in the original diagram, those segments are shared between the blue and the red, so that's these segments here and those segments there. And then also those angles, which I've labeled 1 and 2, which is that angle in the blue and in the red, those angles are congruent because they're overlapping. So when you look at the picture over here, that's what I've written down in our proof. So I said segment QT is congruent to segment QT. That's the whole side of in the red triangles. That's segment QT. And then these two pieces of information here are coming from the other pair of congruent triangles. So we can say segment PQ and QR, well, RQ are congruent, and we can also say those shared angles there, which I've numbered angle 1 and 2, are congruent. And then we can say that our triangles that we were trying to prove congruent are congruent by side angle side.